everyone, this is Carol from Practical Mystic, and as always, I'm so glad you joined me today. My video is going to be about certain tarot cards that may indicate issues with health and well-being. Oftentimes, when we're doing readings for our clients, we may see as a tarot reader issues concerning health, whether that's the physical body, the emotional body, or the mental body. And my advice is always to not go there unless your client opens that avenue up for you. But certainly, if you're going to be a tarot reader, it's not always easy to understand which cards can indicate some of these problems. So today we are going to look at the major arcana cards and some minor arcana cards that can indicate issues concerning physical health, and well-being, and psychological and mental health. Now, it's quite in-depth, and I am going to be reading and giving you worksheets. We're going to talk about them step by step here today. But I think what's very important is to understand what may lead to dis-ease. Okay, in the physical and in the mental body. Now, very quickly, I would like to use an example by, first of all, explaining Edgar Cayce, and then a very important quote that seems to capitalize on what I'm going to discuss with you here today. Now, Edgar Cayce was a psychic. He was known as the Sleeping Prophet. And when his clients came to him, it was usually at a dire need. There was a physical ailment, a disease that needed to be hopefully healed or understood. He would go into a trance, and many often go back to previous lifetimes of his client, find out the root cause, come back. And of course, there was someone there who was writing down his experience as he was explaining to what he was seeing in the trance, and then many times resolve that illness, that disease. So I'm going to use that, as a basis, because Edgar Cayce's quote that fits in perfectly with the concept of the body-mind is the following. He said, the spirit is the life, the mind is the builder, and the physical is the results. And if you are listening to this video, you know that that basically mirrors the metaphysical and ancient traditions, religious teachings that says that we create our own reality through our thoughts and our actions and our choices. This lifetime and in the collective unconscious. Also, we now know that science proves that unresolved issues that form stresses, that cascade cortisol in our bodies because of these emotional anxieties and stress, how detrimental they are to our physical body. So it's very important to resolve these issues in our lives so that we don't create a very toxic environment hormonally in our body. So that, again, is how I really want to begin the understanding process of disease, psychology, the mental aspects, how we have a lot of control over that through our thoughts and in our actions. And basically, just to reiterate, the mind is where it all begins. And as your conscious mind dwells habitably every day on our thoughts, the quality of our thoughts really get kind of embedded in the unconscious mind. And if it's left unresolved, they can lead over time to some dysfunctions within us. So the body-mind is connected, and another example that I like to give everyone that really clarifies it, because we do it all the time, is that when we see or we hear something, it creates a thought. That thought will bring about a sensation, a feeling, an emotion in our body, which may lead us to taking some sort of action. And that action can be a positive or it can be a negative things to our physical body, depending on what we do with that sensation, that emotion, that feeling, that desire that has occurred after we saw it, we heard it, and we thought, we brought back that process of the cascading influence of what that thought triggered in our minds. Okay, so if you understand that, I think it's going to help you to understand where I'm going with all of this process. Okay, what I'm going to share with you today is a result of reading tarot books, reading psychology books, reading body-mind books, other tarotists, and I have over 45 years of doing professional readings for clients, teaching it, and also the workshops. So what I'm presenting to you today is the culmination of all that, which again leads me to say that if you're just beginning the tarot, please don't be overwhelmed, because you may not understand the process of how relating the cards that I'm going to present to you today, how they just so easily fit into the mental, physical, emotional body. So it's over time that you develop this skill, but certainly it's important that you have these in your toolbox, because sooner or later, clients and maybe yourself will look at the tarot for answers concerning some of these areas that we all have in our life. Okay. So let's begin, and as I said earlier, let me get my papers out here that I have. I have these available for you. All you have to do is email me, and I will send you a copy. And like I said, this is all information that I have in my classes and workshops. Now, I'm standing up, making sure you can see this on the monitor. Okay, so here you see Major Arcana health cards. And they are the Hangman, Death, the Devil, the Tower, and the Moon. Okay, footnote. You're going to have to look at these with new eyes, other than how we view them and interpret them. It's also important that you make note of the position in the layout, again giving you additional help in how to interpret that, especially if some of these cards are in a placement that are indicating choices, fears, environment, and outcome, which are all positions in the traditional Celtic cross. Okay, so we're going to go in depth with these in a few minutes. Now, these 5 cards in and of themselves, in the old way that you look at them, you're going to really not draw a conclusion on how they can indicate ill health, disease. You probably can understand some psychological and emotional duress. The following cards appearing with the above cards may indicate health, psychological, emotional stresses, and problems as well. So let's say these come out, and then you have the Hierophant, the Hermit, Temperance, and Judgment also come out in the reading, then that's going to exasperate the importance of the 5 major cards that do indicate the possibility of some health concerns. Again, this all has to do with if your client opens up and wants to know about physical ailments, disease, the conditions of their body-mind in any of these areas. So it isn't like you're doing a reading for your client and you're specifically looking for health. Now, certainly you can do that, but in all my years, I certainly do not recall clients coming in and saying, I want a health reading. What usually happens, because they come in, my clients usually do not have a specific question. They ask for the truth to be revealed, or what I come up with during the course of interpreting the Celtic cross. Usually they'll open up possibly if there is something on their mind that's concerning them with their bodies, their psychology, or their well-being, then I would look to see if these cards presented themselves, as well as some minor cards, which we're going to discuss here in a few minutes. The other thing that you can do, if none of these cards have surfaced and they are asking about a health crisis, which is usually rare, 1 or 2 of these cards are going to surface, because the tarot is a window into what's important in that client's life at the time of the reading. But it does not give you permission to open up a topic that, number 1, they may be fearful of, number 2, they're not interested in or ready to hear. So that is why I'm explaining it in the manner that I am in explaining it. Okay, so there are some minor arcana health cards, and this is really going to be understood more if you look at the element that the suit represents. Specifically, we know that Pentacles is an earth element. Well, the earth element has to do with the physical body. And the 2 minor cards that represent some issues with the physical body is the 5 of Pentacles and the 7 of Pentacles. Okay? The Swords is an air element, and the air element is known as the mental body. And again, let me reiterate the phrase by Edgar Cayce, where the spirit is the life, the mind is the builder. Here is your mental body, your mind. The mind is the builder, and look at all the cards that are affected in the minor arcana concerning health issues. And of course, the last is the physical is the result. How you see that the mind creates what the physical body's condition and state is at the present moment. Okay, so the swords, the mental body, are the 3 of swords, 4 of swords, 5 of swords, 7 of swords, 8 of swords, 9 of swords, and 10 of swords. That is a lot. Body, mind. Now, cups, the emotional body, of course, is also, let's say, second in importance, because our emotional well-being affects our desires, our reactions, depression, moodiness, happiness, joy. And they are the 4 of Cups, 5 of Cups, and by now you're seeing that the 5s are coming out in all of the 4 suits. The 7 of Cups, the 8 of Cups, and lastly is Wands. Now, Cayce talks about the spirit is the life. The wands is the fire, the spirit. I want to add something very important to that that's going to help us again understand the topic that I'm presenting to you having to do with the tarot cards. Back in the 80s, I purchased this book, Choice Centered Tarot by Gail Fairfield. In it, she looks at the wands. And I have to say, after reading her book and studying her book back in the 80s, I applied her concept where she sees the wands, the fire, and the spirit having to do with the self, having to do with our identity in life. And we know that many of us, our identity is our job, what we do, and who we are. So looking at her use of the self, our mind self, and what Casey says, the spirit is the life, how we have our self-esteem, our self-critic, that is the life that really gives us that impotence to go and work and to apply and to love and to do everything that we humans do. I think that this is a very important way of understanding how we react in life and in the tarot. So there are 3 cards, and it looks like I overtook this one. Of course, as I said earlier, all the 5s are problematic in the minor arcana suits. So we start out with the 5 of Wands, the 7 of Wands, and the Knight of Wands. So these cards also, when they come out in a reading and you are looking for health issues, are important to understand. Okay, so let's get real specific here, and I'm trying to go a little bit quicker because I don't want this to be too long. All right, the card's significance in health and well-being. Again, if you want this worksheet, I will gladly offer it to you. All right, so the Hangman. And of course, I'm going to be reading this to you. The card may indicate psychological difficulties, more so if it's next to the Moon and the Tower. Strife and coping problems possible, and also with the 5, 8, and or 9 of Swords. Now, I wish I could go and really be specific and do a layout for you, but I think what's important let's look at the Hangman, and usually the Hangman is going to be in a position, going to be reverse. We're going to be looking at the reverse card, all right? The psychological difficulties, if it is next to the Moon and the Tower, it is self-defeating. This person has strife and is not able to cope with the problems because he is not addressing them. He's not evolving. He's not becoming enlightened. And that is just a little fingernail of how you can understand this, as well as looking at the mindset by the Swords card. And I know that when I teach this, my clients and students are always wondering, oh my gosh, am I ever going to remember this? But you do through time and work. If we look at the 5 of Swords here with the reversed Hangman, and then, you know, we may have the Moon, which is emotionally unable to cope. But where are you, Moon? Okay. All right, so let's say we have this. Then we have an individual who, excuse the expression, but likes to fight with words and defeat people, maybe by bullying, maybe by name calling, to the point where they're distraught and they just no longer plead their case, they give up. And it is a detrimental way of continuing to psychologically influence people that really is not helping the individual during the possibility of enlightenment and transformation of their life. So again, I know it sounds a little bit complicated, but the more you use the cards and the more that you look at them with these different eyes, it'll start making sense. Okay, the death card, very important. We never predict anyone's death in a reading. This card could indicate that the person has gone through a life-changing experience. This may be on many levels. In parentheses, I have they overcame a life-threatening experience such as an illness, loss of a loved one, etc., especially if this card comes up in a past position in a spread, the death card. Okay, so there's major changes in their life. Looking at the surrounding cards and placement for additional information, such as the Tower, the Ten of Swords, Temperance, and the Star. The Temperance and the Star is going to tell you that this individual has overcome a life-changing process. When reverse and in the position of fear, the Death card could indicate issues with death and dying. This card can also indicate lack of self-care, concern for the body, possibility of unhealthy lifestyle that over time may lead to health problems. Okay, the Devil indicates that fear of some sort surrounds the client, issues or situation. There could be addictions, which negativity impacts the health and the physical body. Oftentimes there is lack of peace, rest, and proper sleep. This may stem from excess anxiety, fear, oppression. Addictions to sex, toxic relationships to an individual or group are possible when the Devil card comes up. Also, when next to the Hangman reverse and or the Lover's reverse can indicate sadistic acts. The Tower may indicate problems with physical pain in head and neck, the skeletal system, more so if it is next to the 5 and 7 of Pentacles. The Pentacles have to do with the physical body. Therefore, if the ailments have to do with the bones, the tendons, the ligaments, if you have a lot of pentacles around the Tower, then yes, that is a very strong indication that the part of the body is weak or needing their attention. May indicate a physical accident or situation that was life-changing for the client, psychological crisis involving others when surrounded by, again, the suit that has to do with the mental body, which is Swords, specifically the 3, the 7, and 9 of Swords. Lastly, the Moon. This card has been known to indicate fluids in the body, such as blood, bile, and water. It may indicate problems with menstruation and or elimination, swelling in feet and or hands. In parentheses, I say, often a reversed ace of any suit adds to this possibility. Okay, aces are the purest form of the element that they represent. So a reverse ace next to the Moon card would indicate those health possibilities, whether it's the mind, the physical structure, the way someone identifies, or the emotional nature. Sleep disorders of all kinds. Sometimes when the Moon card comes out, there's concerning nightmares and dreams. When next to the 9 of Swords, the problems may be chronic. And I want to real quickly show you a visual of the 9 of Swords, which certainly indicates someone trying to go to bed and rest, and all of these thoughts build upon the next one to the level that is so discerning to the person that they're holding their head, where all of the thought process are going on, and maybe even uncontrolled. Okay, so what do we have next? Now, the last worksheet that I have here are of the 4 cards that I talked about, that if they come out with the 5 major cards, these are possibilities. So I give you the interpretation of these as well. The Hierophant. This can indicate that the physical body may become ill due to lack of proper exercise, eating habits, inner and outer stress. The belief system may be causing limitations, repressions, or feelings of oppression. Rules or doctrines that limit personal freedom in thinking or expression. At times, this card with reverse hangman and or devil can indicate someone with an identity crisis. The Hermit. This person may be or may become a recluse. In parentheses, I put down, usually this card is reverse and in the position of the spread showing the person's fears. Must have the moon and or the hangman nearby too, in order to really label someone as a diehard recluse. The Hermit can represent the hypochondriac if it's next to the 8 of Swords, the 7 or 8 of Wands, and the 7 of Cups. Now, I want you to look at the 7 of Cups. I think that's also going to give you a very positive visual of why that is stated here. Oh, where are you, Cups, when we need you? Bear with me, folks. It's got to be here. The 7 of Cups is illusions. Okay, castles in the air, fantasies, and they're ungrounded. Okay? So that's why that is labeled as one of the minor cups, with the moon, the devil next to and reverse of the Hermit card. On a positive note, the Hermit can be seen as the healer in a positive position in the reading, along with Temperance somewhere in the spread. So you may see aspects of illnesses or dysfunction or duress, but if the Hermit is in a positive position and Temperance, then there is hope that this is going to subside, or they've already overcome it, or with the influence of them being told on a positive level, you're going to be healed. I see this situation coming to pass and being able to overcome it. Temperance. That card is the alchemist, the pharmacist. When upright, brings the right combination and or proportion of medicine, foods, drugs, elixirs that bring balance to the system, our body. If placed next to the significator or a court card, that person may be being treated by a physician. So in that spread, you may be given information where the Temperance card is right on top of the significator or a court card, and immediately you have that idea or that intuition or that insight that my client is under a physician's care treating an illness, or something is going on that is unbalanced, and taking some sort of, whether it's an elixir, an herb, or a medicine, or changing their diet, that's going to help overcome it. Surrounded by the moon, the devil or hangman may indicate substance abuse. Okay? Judgment. A time for self-evaluation may indicate lack of sleep, rest, enjoyment due to a lifestyle, a belief, or where you place your values. a time to step back and revisit your relationships with yourself and family from a psychological perspective. Is there a need for forgiveness? The other thing that helps us to understand these cards is when you have the knowledge of astrology, because you can then look at what the planet or the zodiac sign represents, and of course the ruling planet of that zodiac sign, to also give you an understanding. For instance, the hangman we know is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune can really be a two-edged sword. Neptune can be spirituality and enlightenment, or it can be an escapist, or you're delusionary. So understanding and having that knowledge, of course, is also helpful. So everyone, I know this was quick. I know this is kind of an introduction. This is a little advanced, but I'm offering it to you. If you would like to have these worksheets, all you have to do is email me. I'll send you all 3. And if you have any questions or concerns or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks everyone for joining me today. Till next time, stay safe. Bye.